One-man game.
It's showtime, folks!
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. It's time for Through the Waiver Wire. Took me a little while because I was making some changes to the YouTube page and the Twitter page, but I'm here. And let's jump right into it. We're going to go to the top 3 waiver wire pickups for the week, and we're going to go to my streaming defense and streaming kicker. First, we start off with Jordan Howard. Jeremy Langford went down with an injury. It looks like he's going to be out for a long time, and Jordan Howard is going to be the lead back. Last week, he had 9 carries for 45 yards and 6 targets for 47 yards. I like the running backs that can catch as well. It's looking like going forward that it's going to be a running back by committee situation with him and Kadeem Carey, but it's also looking like it won't be an even split at all. Jordan Howard will be the lead back. His next matchup is with the Detroit Lions. The Bears' next matchup, shall I say, with the Detroit Lions. And the Lions give up an average of 14.26 points per game to fantasy running backs this season through 3 games. It's looking like a good matchup for Jordan Howard. I would recommend playing him. He's had a lot of offseason hype. Now that he has the opportunity, I have confidence in him. Next up, we have Orleans Darkwa, running back from the New York Giants. He hasn't gotten a whole lot of opportunity this season, but with Shane Vereen having a season-ending injury and with Rashard Jennings having an injury as well, he's definitely going to get some opportunity this week. Last week, he had 10 carries for 53 yards, and he had a target for 9 yards, but we also have to look out for Bobby Rainey. This is sort of going to be a running back by committee situation, but once again, we have a running back in Orleans Darkwa that seems to be in the lead role. Next week, the Giants have the Vikings, which that if you've been watching Vikings lately, that's been a terrible matchup for anybody. That defense is incredible. They got off to a slow start, but the last couple of weeks they have been great. So I would recommend, if you have some space on your roster, I would recommend picking up Darkwa, but I would sit him on the bench to see how this whole situation works out. Last up on the list is Jimmy Graham. Wow, where has this guy been? He suffered the patella tendon last year, and it's been a slow start for him, but last week he broke out against the 49ers. Graham had 9 targets for 100 yards and a touchdown, and it looked like old times, like when he was with the Saints, like the old Jimmy Graham. And I mean, with the state of tight ends in fantasy football, there's Gronk, Jordan Reed, and everybody else. If you could possibly nab Jimmy Graham off the waiver wire, and I mean, possibly he could even return to his elite status, you would be gaining a major advantage on everybody in the league. And I would definitely put in a waiver wire claim for him. Now we have to see if Russell Wilson will be playing this week, as he has an MCL sprain. So that's something to watch. But I'd imagine that if Trevor Boykin played, he'd be looking for Jimmy Graham, because the tight end is always a rookie quarterback or a first-time starting quarterback's security blanket. So next up, the Seahawks have the Jets, and they just gave up 89 yards and a touchdown to Travis Kelce. I would, depending on the situation, I would recommend playing Jimmy Graham and seeing how this works out. You know, maybe he's back into form, and maybe you get a great game out of him. Last up, we have our streaming defense and our streaming kicker of the week. First off, we're going to get to the defense. Now, last week, my streaming defense was the Miami Dolphins because they were playing the Cleveland Browns and Cody Kessler was getting his first start, and I figured that the Miami Dolphins would have a field day on him, and I was completely wrong. And the Dolphins only gave me single digits last week, and I was very disappointed. But this week, call me stubborn, but I'm going for it again. This week I have the Washington Redskins as my streaming defense, and their opponent is the Cleveland Browns. I don't think Cody Kessler will do that 2 games in a row, and I think Washington will be able to feast on Cleveland. And I also think that Josh Norman will be able to slow down Terrell Pryor as well. So I have confidence in them, and I'm definitely going with the Reds, going with Washington as my streaming defense of the week. Last up is an idea that I've just come up with this season, and that is streaming a kicker. I've come up with a near foolproof plan as to how to get a good kicker for every week. Nearly foolproof. What I do is that I look at the lines for each game, and I go and find the highest, the game with the highest point total. And the last 2 weeks, it's been the Giants and the Saints, and the Falcons and the Saints. And I like to pick the kicker that's at home, or the kicker on the team that's favored. So a couple of weeks ago, I went with Josh Brown, and he gave me 10 points. And last week, I went with Will Lutz, and he got around 7 or 8 points. So this week, I'm going to go with Josh Lambo. He's a kicker for the Chargers, and once again, the Saints are in the highest total game of the week, and I feel good about picking Josh Lambo. I think a lot of points should be put up on the board, and he'll at least give you 7 to 8 points. Well, that is it, and that is all for this week. I hope you've enjoyed. Feel free to like and subscribe. Also, feel free to follow me on my Twitter page at SwissArmy94. I know you've seen the intro. That's for my Twitter page. And I will look forward to seeing you next week.